We're with David Shapiro. He's a criminal defense lawyer in San Diego, California. He's agreed to answer some online questions. These questions were posted specifically related to theft. Let's go into the first question, David. This first question was from Bobbi. Bobbi says, what's the difference between grand theft and petty theft?
Well, Bobbi, the main difference between grand theft and petty theft is grand theft involves theft in an amount exceeding $950. So if you're alleged to have taken an item of property and it's valued at more than $950, you can and likely will be charged with grand theft. Another difference is between grand theft and petty theft is grand theft is a wobbler. What that means is grand theft can be charged as a felony or it can be charged as a misdemeanor. That's going to be at the discretion of the prosecutor. And as far as petty theft goes, that can only be charged as a misdemeanor. So those are your main differences between grand theft and petty theft.
Okay, next question was, this is a short one, but is shoplifting always considered a misdemeanor?
Yeah, shoplifting always would be considered a misdemeanor. In fact, there's within the last year or two, there's been a new penal code section added to cover specifically shoplifting. It's sort of a hybrid between commercial burglary and petty theft. It's 459.5 in the penal code. And that addresses when you walk into a store basically with the intent to commit a crime of theft inside. That's usually what we see as far as shoplifting goes, and you actually leave with the item. So you know that's the specifics of shoplifting. It sort of morphed into one penal code section.
Okay, the next question was from Jorge, and he said, is theft and robbery the same thing?
No, robbery is sort of imagine two circles. Robbery is a bigger circle. Within that circle is theft. Robbery is theft when accomplished by force. So, theft is you take someone's wallet. Robbery would be you push them or punch them in the face and take their wallet. Robbery is more serious, significantly more serious than theft. Even theft at a felony level is not a strike offense unless the amount is absolutely absurd. Then it could be, adding more than 3 years and all that type of stuff. And if there's other variables, it could be filed as a serious or even violent felony, depending on the circumstances. But robbery in and of itself, under Penal Code Section 211, is a violent felony. It's a strike felony. You could get up to, I believe, 5 years off the top of my head just on robbery alone. And robbery could be something what you think of like, you pull a gun on somebody, you hold up a 7-Eleven, or robbery could be as simple as in California, particularly, basically, say you're shoplifting some items and the loss prevention officer puts their hands on you to try and stop you and sort of give them a stiff arm or give her a stiff arm, push them out of the way. You're using force to effectuate the theft. So that could be charged as robbery as well. And there's no distinguishing factor under the law. You would still be charged with robbery the same way you would if you held up a store or put a gun to somebody's head or beat them up to take their property.
Okay, this one is from Ann. This is fairly specific to her, but she says, I left the store without paying for something. I totally meant to buy it. I just forgot. And as I was leaving the store, security stopped me and they called the police. Can I be charged with theft even though it was an accident?
Yeah, you definitely can be charged with theft, but in order to be convicted of it, they being the prosecutor, will need to prove that you had the intent to to move the property and permanently or for a long period of time deprive the owner of the property. You don't need to walk past a register in a shoplifting format or in a store format for it to be theft. What they would need to prove is that you had the intent to permanently deprive or for an absurdly long amount of time deprive the owner of the property. You didn't have the consent to take the property, and you did something to actually move the property, no matter how slight. The key focus to your question, though, would be what was your intent? If it was an accident, if you forgot, a mistake, those types of things, you could still be charged with theft, but the issue is, will you be convicted of theft? And that's where the services of a really good attorney come in.
Okay, the final question we had was from Patrick. And he says, and this goes a little bit into what you were saying earlier, but when does theft become a robbery? Or excuse me, a burglary?
Well, theft would become a burglary if, under the circumstances when you enter a room or a house or a store, at that time, if they could prove that you had the intent to commit a theft inside or a felony inside. So an example would be this. If you walk into a store and you don't have the intent to steal or commit a theft offense, and then while you're in that store, you're like, hey, you know what? I want that watch. I can't afford it. I'm going to take it. That would be a theft offense. But if you're in the parking lot, you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to steal when I go in there. And if you admit to it, or if there's evidence, circumstantial or direct evidence, you formulated that intent to steal or commit a felony before you entered that store, then you would be charged with burglary, commercial burglary. If it's a home, it's residential burglary. So when your intent was formulated to steal or commit the felony inside is really key. And that goes to a whole other issue, which I just want to touch upon, on the importance of keeping your mouth closed when you're stopped by law enforcement, because you don't want to give them confirmation of what your intent really was, particularly if it was a bad intent.
Excellent. Well, if you have any other questions, feel free to post in the comments section below. And thank you for joining.
Sure, my pleasure. And again, myself and my staff can always be reached at 619-295-3555 if you have any other questions. Thank you.